Yes, I salute you all. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. So basically, today we are going to look at how to answer a question in evidence law 1, basically, where you have res gestae, where we have confessions and admissions, character evidence, hearsay evidence, opinion evidence, among others. So basically, this is what we are going to see, that how do we answer such questions, basically, in this essence? How do we go about such questions in this essence? That if we encounter such a question, how do you go about it? The general rule, or the general rule that we can show here under this quotation is that under evidence, remember it is about the relevance and admissibility of what? Evidence. Evidence law 1 is a bit precise, but it is a bit technical. And the technical bit of it is just for you realizing to know that whether this evidence is relevant and admissible or not. That's the technical bit of it. But it is so precise and understandable. But the quotation, or the quotation that you have to show that this evidence, it is relevant and admissible. So if, as we are answering the problem question, first of all, in this essence, the brief facts come first, however the question will be big, basically. And start by problem questions, basically. However the problem may be, we start with the brief facts, the issues, the law applicable, and the resolution. So as we are raising those issues, now that's how the problem comes. They will give you a scenario that it is maybe PW1 is narrating a story, and this story maybe has an element. I'll first show the element of res gestae, this side of res gestae. For example, PW1 says that I saw Peter before he told Chizito that you won't survive. Basically, you won't escape Sunday. That essence. So, in that essence, it gives the other element of what? The previous act or the previous conduct. In that essence. So, in that essence, we shall say that whether PW1 is evidence is relevant and admissible. That is our issue. For you analyze, look at his story at the end of the day. And I'm talking about when we are in res gestae. Basically, when we are in res gestae, that you look at his story, then at the end of the day you conclude that whether his evidence is relevant and admissible. Then in the resolution, that's where you bring the concept of res gestae, starting by section 5. Basically, res gestae, section 5 drives it. Basically, note that in mind. Start with section 5. Facts which are the same but so connected to the fact in issue form part of the central, among others, basically. Then you go section 7, provides for previous and subsequent conduct, what and what, among others, basically. So that's how we raise the issue in that essence. That if you're talking about res gestae, or when you're reading a question and the question has the element of res gestae, the quotation is that whether PW1 is evidence is relevant and admissible, basically. So that is the quotation. When there is res gestae, you see a statement of res gestae. That is good that memorize those sections. Memorize the contents of each sections in that act. So there's also a quotation that comes that where it comes that, for example, it is a confession. That is whether the confession made by PW1 is valid. That's how it comes. That whether the confession made by PW1 is valid, or whether the confession made by Simon Peter is valid. Also to deal with character, whether hearsay evidence, very much you didn't see, even though you don't say hearsay evidence, or we say whether evidence uttered by Simon Peter is valid. Evidence uttered by Simon Peter, at the end of the day you may say that it is hearsay evidence, but you cannot, sometimes I don't advise you to bring it direct, that whether hearsay evidence of so and so is admissible. No, just say that whether Simon Peter's evidence is admissible. Then in your resolution, that's where you will show that this is hearsay evidence and hearsay evidence is inadmissible, unless it is identifying a certain concept, basically. It is identifying a certain concept there. That even if it is identifying a certain concept, still I don't advise you. For example, if it is the exemption of a dying declaration, basically. So I may say that whether so and so's evidence is admissible, yet it is a dying declaration. We know a dying declaration is an exemption of hearsay evidence. Start by talking about section 30, hearsay evidence, whereby the general rule that hearsay evidence is not admissible. Then you go to that exemption of dying declaration. And I advise that while you're doing those questions, basically, start with the general rules. However much the question is pointing to the exemption, but start with the general rule. Where you start with the general rule, at the end of the day, the exemption will come as a result. But start with that what? With that general rule, basically in that essence. So after starting with that general rule, then you discuss the exemption, basically. So I advise you that, for example, even if it is character evidence, and you see that the evidence is given by an expert. If the expert is Simon Peters, say that whether Simon Peters' evidence is admissible. In the resolution, that's where you show that this is opinion evidence, which the general opinion evidence is inadmissible, unless it is made by that of what? An expert. Then show us that which kind of expert is this? Is he by experience? Is he by education? Or is evidence of an ordinary witness, basically. So basically that is how evidence law will answer questions, basically. And what I beg that once we are answering questions of evidence law, most of problem questions, basically, the question here is, or your determination is to determine whether that evidence is relevant and admissible. That's your determination. There's nothing they ask in evidence-wise other than that. Even if it is a confession, where they say that whether this confession is relevant or admissible, by showing that whether it is a valid confession or it is not a valid what? Confession. You get? So that is the quotation. And even character, what the issue is that whether that evidence is relevant and admissible. Where it is relevant and admissible, it is a good evidence. So that's the quotation, or that's what we look at in this essence, basically. So that is the point of what? Of quotation. So at the end of the day, that's what we must show in this essence, basically. So under evidence law, if it is an essay question, write whatever. Actually, you write everything. You write the art. For example, they may discuss the law governing confessions and admissions. Discuss the whole everything about confessions. Discuss everything about admissions. Basically, under evidence law for you to pass. But if it is a problem question, your determination is that whether that evidence is relevant and admissible. And don't forget to conclude your issue. That you say that therefore Simon Peters' evidence is relevant and admissible because it is evidence of an expert. So basically that is the quotation under evidence law, basically. So in case that you have something, maybe in this essence you have anything that you want me to highlight still on it, how to answer the questions in evidence law, basically, evidence law 1, please let me know so that we can integrate this issue together, basically. But evidence law, just breathe in and breathe out. At the end of the day, you'll pass, basically. There's no need of you thinking. It is a bit technical, but just once you're reading a problem question, just know that, is this evidence relevant? Is this evidence admissible? Those are the issues that you must ask yourself, because that's what they want. So basically, so that is the quotation. Thank you for listening. Comment where you feel that you need more light, and we shall read together and discuss together at the end of the day. So other than that, thank you for listening and thank you for watching me. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. Thank you. Yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for being on the channel. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, share the videos, and stay on. Thank you very much for always watching. Stay blessed and be blessed. Continue watching.